Peace. This is the Ask Your Oldhead podcast with Justice Raji. This is episode number 2, and in this episode, we are going to sit down with my brother Zyhier. He's one of my elders, one of my big brothers, one of my old heads that has helped me to grow and develop as a man, as a father, as a member of the community. We took a trip together last summer, and the intent of that trip was to be able to sit down in the same space and time and work on this podcast and some other creative works, and also to maintain, the health and vigor, of our bond. So I wanted to share this with you as the starting point for our interviews here on the Ask Your Oldhead podcast. I hope you enjoy and get a tight taste, a slice, a little bit of someone who's very important to me. And we're going to get into it. So with that, I say peace and enjoy. Peace. Peace. This is the Ask Your Oldhead podcast with Justice Raji. I have my special and illustrious guest, my big brother, my man Zyhier. Peace, Zyhier.
Peace, Justice Raji.
Peace, God. So, the focus of the Ask Your Oldhead podcast is getting the extracting the knowledge from men, women, adults, folks in our community, people's history, people's experience, and hopefully putting it in a form somebody can take a piece with them. So we're just gonna get into it.
All right.
Before we do that, though, is there anybody that you just want to give like a shout out to? I'm gonna give a little shout out to, because in case y'all don't know, Zyhier is one of my big brothers, one of my old heads, one of the people that has been a rock for me, been a part of my support system and me becoming the man that I am, and I want to give him an opportunity to say thank you. You know what I'm saying? To the world, if you're listening. So is there anybody you just want to give a shout out to or thanks to that maybe haven't had the opportunity to hear that in the world?
Okay, so I have several brothers that I like to shout out. First and foremost is Father Allah. He basically laid down the foundation for the principles that I live by today, which is mathematics. And so definitely a shout out to Allah, and also to Jamel, Slim Jamel. He was probably my best friend ever, and also showed me a lot in terms of the mathematics, how to put them into use, make them walk and talk, and live and breathe. And also another brother who's passed, Rob Penny from the University of Pittsburgh. He was the chairman of the Black Studies Department. The God studied under him. And we also took the bus to the Million Man March together with Charlie Wilson. Charlie Williams, he's also a shout out to him. Those two brothers has passed, and also August Wilson was the trio with them three. In terms of brothers that are still with us, I would like to shout out to Jaki Mathematics in New York City. And, I, God Allah, and some of the other gods who preceded me here in this nation.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Peace to God. So let's get into it. I mean, I like to start with something like, just give me a standard or a practice, something you hold yourself to in your interactions with people in the world, and how did you learn or come to adopt that practice?
That's a great question. I think the best thing I can do is to be transparent, straight open, and straightforward in terms of my relationship and communicating with people, so that there's no perception of a hidden agenda. In other words, I am who I say I am. If that's what I tell you that I'm going to do it. I hold myself to a high standard of accountability. I'm what I call WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So basically, if we build, and then my expectation is that, you're going to meet what you said you're going to do, because I certainly am going to meet what I said I'm going to do. And that's based on what my name is. And my name is Zyhier Allah, which means the supreme builder and architect. So my job is really to connect the dots and to build bridges with all the human families of the planet Earth and with various situations. I'm the bridge builder.
Yeah, that's peace. On your journey to develop that practice, what were some of the hurdles that you had to jump, or some of the hard moments? Can you share like a hard moment, like sticking to that, where you had to maybe had to tough one out
Yeah, I had to tough several out because I didn't really always recognize who I was and what my calling was. At some point in time, I looked at my history and looked at what I had been doing and what I had been most effective at, and it had been building relationships. So that's something that I think is even more needed in terms of the black diaspora, the black community, in terms of having open dialogue and trust amongst each other, particularly amongst black men and also between black men and women. And so what I try to do is exemplify that standard of living, that standard of life, that accountability to my brother. And I also try to pass that on to the young brothers.
Indeed. That's peace. That's peace. I know I've known you, for almost, I guess, 20 years now. As amazing as that is.
It's 21 years, guys.
Right. In terms of, where I've seen from when your babies was basically younger than me, and some of them was, because you got a range of, young, and now you got grandbabies. What's, kind of most important for you right now in your life, where you're at right now?
Yeah, right where I'm at now, I have 12 grandchildren. I also have one great-grandchild. I have 5 wonderful children. I have, actually 7, but 1 returned to the essence, and my other nephew, whom I also was a part of his life, raising him. He's overseas doing mixed martial arts fighting. And the most important thing for me now is to help them get through these their 30s. Those were some tumultuous years for me. To get, to stay on the right track, to support them and their ideas, to support my grandchildren and get to have a personal relationship with them. So what I've done recently is I retired working from my profession as a healthcare executive, if you will. And so what I've done is made it possible to spend more and more time with my grandchildren so that I can build these bridges of these, the generation gaps so that we can enjoy each other while I'm here. I don't want to, be given all these accolades when I return. I want to be able to enjoy those today, and I want to give them some tools to work with to succeed in society.
Indeed, you're going to get some of them roses while you're here to smell them, right?
Thank you.
Indeed. So, one thing I just want to extract that I'm hearing you say right there is that as a parent, but also as a man and being a part of the community, the job doesn't necessarily stop as far as being a part and being someone meaningful to somebody else. You know what I mean? Like that the role changes. You take on different hats, maybe you take on some different positions, but you still have value to people, right?
Yeah, I do. And the first thing that I had to do was realize that I had to be selfish in order to get what I needed. So people might think that that's like a negative trait. However, it's really one of the most important traits in terms of getting what you need for yourself, because if people who are dependent upon you for sustenance don't get the best of you, then you can't give them the best of you. So you have to get the best for yourself first. Now, that's different than being self-centered. Like, there's a problem with that because you're doing whatever you need to do to get for what you need at the expense of other people. However, there's another trait that I'd like to talk about, which is selflessness. And I like to practice that as well because it's not really about me today. I've lived, a good life. And that's because I live on top of the 8. What I mean by that is that I've had trials and tribulations. I've learned from those trials and tribulations, physical addiction, emotional issues, incarceration, just plain insanity. And so that's also helped to shape who I am because I've taken that and examined why I was there. And when I see and, feel that type of vibe or that feeling coming back, then I know what I have to do to put myself in the right frame of mind. And so we are responsible for what we know, and I know where that came from. However, we're not responsible for what we don't know. However, we are responsible for going to seek that knowledge so that we can deal with some self-improvement.
Indeed. Man, well, peace, God. I'm not gonna hold you all day with the heavy gray matter, but I'm gonna see if we could maybe walk out with a little bit of just something, a little more whimsical, more light. I know you gonna enjoy entertainment. What's like a movie that if you just chilling at the rest and it came on, you gonna watch it, no matter what, to the end. Like, I'm about to watch this right now.
Yeah, there's a couple, man, and it's not necessarily in this order, but I'm gonna get you, sucker, for sure. And one of my favorites is The Spook That Sat by the Door. It was based on a book by Sam Greenlee, which came out in 1968. And this brother was sort of like a corporate brother who came into work with the government. However, he had other, intentions in mind, and so he actually spearheaded a revolution in America. And I like to refer to that book, number one, for people to go out and get that book, look it up in Amazon or whatever, and read it. However, you could get a hold of the movie. That would be a real gem, but it was very close. The writing of the book and the movie production were very close. And the reason why I want to relate that to these times is because there is a revolution that's happening right now, and the revolution is not necessarily one where arms are being picked up, but it's one where we have to first get that community brotherhood back into how we communicate with each other. And secondly, we have to prepare ourselves with knowledge. We have to go out and get that knowledge. It's available. There's no excuse. You don't have to be in a library. Most people have a cell phone. They could Google. If you have a question, you should be able to look it up. And lastly, we just have to show that love with each other. This is all about love. I wanted to shout out to Justice Raji, I'm a Jessica Law, Knowledge Builder Law, for inviting me out here to California, Los Angeles. We are actually doing a podcast right now, and we're on Venice Beach. And so we're staying out here on Venice Beach. We had a powerful workout this morning. These young brothers aren't cutting me any slack. I still have to keep up. And I just want to give a shout out to them for allowing the Oldhead and inviting the Oldhead to come out and build with them.
All right. Well, Zyhier, you're always welcome. And I want to thank you for allowing me to get a little recorded wisdom, recorded some experience. Hopefully folks can learn and grow on that. And with that, we're going to say peace. And thank you.
Hey, peace, Justice Raji, my brother.
Peace, God.
Peace.